Hello and welcome to Bywater Knit and Fiber. My name is Caitlin and this is a space where I share my making, primarily knitting, but also spinning, sewing, crochet, and any other crafty things I decide to try. Today's episode is going to be all knitting. It is now October, which is my favorite time of year and also the time where I am most inspired to work on my knitting projects. That being said, I have quite a few things to talk about today. I have 4 finished objects and then a few different whips that I've been focusing on. So we will get into that, but first I will talk about what I'm wearing. This is the LLF sweater by Albina McLaughlin. It's knit in Nutiden held double. I forget which colorways I used, but they are on my Ravelry project page. If you are not able to access Ravelry, just let me know and I can send any of the information you're looking for to you. But this is one of my favorite patterns by Albina. I've said before, she is one of my favorite pattern designers. All of her patterns are so well written. They have a lot of different customization options. And the fit always ends up so beautiful. This one almost looks like a set-in sleeve, but it's knit all in the round top down, just with increases to do the shaping. And this is one of the versions I've knit. I also knit another one that I brought to show you. So this one, I did a few modifications. The one I'm wearing, I knit, I believe, entirely to pattern. I don't think I made any modifications, but this one I did change up a bit. So I had different scraps of Nutiden that I wanted to put into a project together. Again, I forget which colors they are, but they're in my Ravelry page. So for this one, I did 8-row stripes instead of 4-row stripes, which is what the pattern calls for. And then around the neck, because I changed the stripes and made them bigger, when I picked up the collar, I didn't like how it looked having the collar picked up in the same color stripe as the yarn. That's not making sense. So on this pattern, you pick up the neck bands, and when you're at the front, you're picking up in the stripe that is the opposite color of the neckband. And I like how that looks. This one, I was picking up in the stripe that is the same color as the neckband. And when I picked up the stitches and started knitting it, I did not like how that looked. So I ripped back and I decided to pick up in a contrasting color, and I did it, I knit it a purl bump, and then I switched to the main color, knit the ribbing, and then I finished it with a little bit of a rolled stockinette edge. This is my favorite neckband, I think. I really like having that rolled edge. But yes, so I've knit 2 of these sweaters. I do plan on knitting one in a solid color, hopefully in the next few months. I think that is the sweater I want to use my Lucra yarn for, which I talked about a few episodes ago. It's probably my favorite Nutiden color that I have, and I've been putting off using it because I want it to be in the perfect project. And I really like the fit of this pattern, so I think that's what I'm going to go with. And if you have not tried Albina McLaughlin's patterns, I highly, highly recommend. This is a great one. The Saglin is another one of my favorites. I knit 2 of those for me and 1 for my husband. And they're just wonderful basics. The fit is really nice. Yeah, only good things to say. Right, so we can get into the finished objects. The first is my Winter's Pullover by Ozetta. It's going to be a little bit hard to see because it's kind of just a black blob. But this I knit in the recommended yarn, which is 1 strand of Let Lopi and 1 strand of Einband. I used the natural sheep black heather, I think it's called, in both the Let Lopi and the Einband. And I knit this almost exactly to pattern. The only thing I changed is the neckband. The pattern is written for a pretty tall turtleneck, but I figured I would get more use out of the sweater if I had a crew neck. So again, I did a little bit of ribbing and then the rolled stockinette neckband. If I have a picture of me wearing this, I will put it in, but I really, really like this sweater. As I was knitting it, I was a little bit unsure if I would like how it fit in the end, but I have been wearing this all weekend. It is so comfy. It's the perfect length. I think I'm gonna get a lot of use out of it this winter. It is heavy though. Usually my sweaters that I knit in Lopi are pretty light for how warm they are, but this thing weighs a ton. So yes, the Winter's Pullover by Ozetta. Oh, I will say, I didn't check my gauge on this because it's very oversized, and I sort of know what needles I need to use to get a fabric I like for Lopi. But I used almost all of the Einbands that I have. I don't know if I have the leftovers here. I think I do. Yes, this is all I had left. And I knit size 1. And I did not do the full turtleneck. And it's a pretty tall turtleneck, so I feel like I would have needed another skein of Einband to finish the sweater as written. I do have, I think, 2 skeins of Let Lopi left over, so that was fine, but you might want to get an extra skein of the Einband. Now, again, I did not check my gauge, so it could be that my gauge is off and that's why I have so little left, but just a note. All right. One of the other finished objects I have are the vanilla socks I knit for my mom. I will put a picture in because I did gift them already, but I've shown them in every episode so far, I think. So yeah, they were just my normal vanilla socks, knit with West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply in the Green Woodpecker colorway. And no pattern, I just have a basic vanilla sock recipe that I follow. All right, the next 2 finished objects are ones that you have not seen before. So the first one is the Harlow hat by Andrea Mowry, and I knit this in Rosa Pomar Monzime in the color, check my notes, 305. So the Harlow hat is knit in 2 colors. I decided just to do 1. It is a brioche hat. And I did knit mine a little bit longer so I could get a folded brim. I think I knit an extra like 2.5 to 3 inches to get the folded brim. And this was the my car project, so that's why I haven't shown it before. It lived in my car because I don't really like knitting brioche, so I just threw it in there so that if I was in waiting rooms or whatnot, I could just pull out that and work on the very long brioche body of the hat. And then I got to the decreases. So I brought it in and finished it up. And I've been working on this. I checked my Ravelry. I think it was 2 years ago I cast it on. And I'm a little annoyed with myself because I really like how this fits and I wish I had finished it sooner. I would like to knit another one, but I don't really like knitting brioche. I don't know why. I think it just is less of a, like the flow isn't as good with brioche knitting for me. But the finished object is very nice. So yes, this is the Harlow hat. It's the fingering weight one by Andrea Mallory in Retrosaria Mundine, color 305. And the last finished object, this one I have not blocked yet because I just finished it last night. So it is very curly and it's also covered in dog hair. But this is the Stockinette Bandana by Brook Willow Knits. This is a free tutorial that she posted on YouTube, so I will link that below. I didn't actually watch the video, but she puts the instructions in the description. It's a very simple stockinette bandana. And once I block this, it should curl up a lot less. And you can knit this with any yarn at any gauge. I didn't use the full skein, but you can just knit till you use a little bit less than half of your yarn and then start the decreases so that you can use whatever yarn you want. This yarn is Cloudborn Fibers Highland Worsted in the color Burgundy. I had this left over from a Christmas sweater that I knit for my sister a few years ago. It's a little brighter on camera than it is in real life. Now this is not my typical color, but I knit it for a Ren Fair costume. My husband and I will be going, we will be wearing the baguette costumes from Expedition 33, the video game. I did not play it, but he did, and it was one of his favorite games. So he wanted to go together in the baguette costume, and I'll put a picture of what it looks like. But I needed a red little bandana, and instead of buying one, I decided to knit one. Once we go to the Ren Fair, I'll put a picture of our costumes in, but we're going the last week of October is going to be when we wear that costume. All right, so that is all of my finished objects, and we can get into works in progress. I have a new cast on, which is another vanilla sock. So I actually finished the first sock already. The yarn for this is Nomadic Yarns. The color is October Sky. And then the contrast is a yarn that I dyed a long time ago. So I've been eyeing up this color for a very long time. And a few weeks ago, she posted an update and I saw it in time to order this color. It usually sells out pretty quickly. And it is beautiful. So yeah, I just finished the first sock this morning. So I'm going to cast on the second one and hopefully have that finished so that I can get some wear out of them in October. All right, what next? I did make a little more progress on my Gertrude vest by Susan Crawford, which is in her book Echoes. And I can grab that to show. I've talked about this quite a lot, so I'm not going to go into it too much. But since I last recorded, I think I had just finished the body last time. So I added the steek stitches for the armholes, and then I just added the steek stitches for the neck. So I am on my way to finishing. I usually do a felted steek. I am by no means an expert at steeking. I've only done a few projects, but if anyone is interested in seeing a video of how I steek, let me know. I'm happy to record that and show it when I finish. So this is knit in Ramafino. Again, the colors are all in my Ravelry page, but they're very similar colors to the ones that Susan Crawford uses in her sample. So I'm excited to have this finished. I think this is going to be the next thing I focus my time on so that I can get it done sooner rather than later. Oh, and I'll show the back again. So the front has the Fair Isle patterning, and then the back is just 1x1 color work. I am knitting these on size US 2.5, which is 3mm needles. I've also been working on my Kerr sweater by Rebecca Clow. I know it's pronounced Clow, but every time I go to say it, I want to say Clow. Rebecca Clow of the Crayabea. So I finished the color work on the body and then knit about an inch of stockinette after that. Then I put the body on hold and picked up the neckbands, and now I'm working on the sleeves. I like to do the neckband and the sleeves before finishing the body. I feel like it helps me not get stuck on Sleeve Island. I am knitting this in Plotulopi in the color Dark Woods, and then the contrast is Ivory Beige, I believe it's called. It's 1038. Yeah, not too much to say about this. I am hoping that the color work on the sleeves won't take too long. It's not as enjoyable on a smaller circumference as it is for the body, but yeah. And then the Plotulopi really goes a long way. I only used one plate for the entire body so far, not including the neckband. So I didn't need to break into the new one until I started the neckband and did the sleeve. Now, of course, it is color work, but that still is quite a lot of knitting for one plate of yarn. And I am doing the deeper color work. So there's two options. You can have a thinner band or this deeper one, and that is what I went with. All right, I have two more projects to talk about, and they are both smaller. So the first, this looks a little weird right now, but I am knitting a wise old man, who is a character in not Minecraft, RuneScape. This is going to be for my husband. I'll put a picture of the wise old man. And the pattern I'm using for the body is Kurtasnikir by Helene Magnuson. So I'll post the link for that below. I did talk about it in a previous video. So I just finished his torso and head, and then I started working on the legs. I'm gonna knit his robe when I'm finished in, I think it fell out of my bag, this yarn I dyed again a few years ago. And then he has a beard, so I'm gonna use wool to like felt his beard on. And then he has a crown, and I need to make little wire rim glasses for him and a cape. The yarn I'm using is Let Lopey in the color Straw. All right. The next project is the little ratty keychain I'm making for my sister's partner. The pattern is by Claire Garland. It's going to be a little hard to show again because of the state that it's in. But last time I had finished like the main part of the body, and then this looks just like a tangle of yarn. I then picked up to knit like the belly side of the wrap. I added the keychain, and I said I was going to take pictures of how I did this, but I did not do that. But basically I just used some cotton embroidery floss and braided it, and then I put a button on the inside and knotted it through. And I'm going to wrap the button in the wool stuffing so that it doesn't poke out too much. I did start seaming his little feet, and now I have to attach the belly to the rest of the wrap. I've knit a few of Claire Garland's patterns. I believe they're all knit flat. At least all the ones I have been knit flat. And the seaming is never too difficult, but this one has kind of thrown me for a loop. I don't know if it's because I'm knitting it on much finer yarn than the pattern calls for. I mean, not much finer. I think it calls for fingering weight, and I'm using a lace weight. It's Einband. But yeah, this one I'm really struggling with. So it took me so long just to seam his little feet together. And I'm kind of dreading seaming the body, but it's okay. It'll get done. I think after you seam the body, you pick up for his arms. So yes, I will continue working on that. And then I have to knit his clothes. So I'm going to knit his pants in this blue mohair from Valley Yarns. And then the sweater, my sister asked that I make the sweater look like one of her partner's favorite shirts. So it's a green and pink shirt. The sweater in the pattern, I believe, is a raglan, but I'm gonna have to change it and do like a drop shoulder so that it looks like the shirt she wants me to model it after. So I think the clothes will be much easier than the rest of this. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. And that, I believe, is all of the knitting I have to talk about. I did want to talk about one book just because I am thinking about a potential like book club / knit along. So I got this book. It is called A Year in Story and Song, A Celebration of the Seasons. And it is by Leah Leendertz. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But the book is broken up into each month, and there are folk stories, stories about how the month was named, different folk songs, and it just looks like a really interesting book to read throughout the year. So what I was thinking of doing is in January starting and reading each month as it comes. But then I also was watching Anna, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but I'll put it here. She is a Swedish knitwear designer, and she is knitting or designing patterns for the different, what are they called? Like Beltane, Samhain, the different Celtic, I cannot remember what they're called. The Wheel of the Year. I don't know. Anyway, she is designing patterns for those different celebrations. And she has been releasing them all throughout the year. And she said that in January, she's going to release them as an ebook with some additional patterns and recipes. So I was thinking that a nice, fun, year-long project would be to read this book each month. And then as the why can't I think of what it's called? The different celebrations, like the solstice, whatever. As they come along, knitting the pattern that she designed for each one. So I don't know if anyone would be interested in joining me in that. I'm not sure exactly when she's releasing the ebook. I know she said sometime in early January. But I thought it would be a nice, mindful practice for my knitting. Just having a project. I mean, obviously there are a bunch of different little projects, but just having a year-long knitting project that is very connected to the season that we're in. So if anyone is interested, let me know. Hopefully I described it okay. I don't know why I can't think of the words I want to use today. But yes, so the book is A Year in Story and Song, and I will link Anna's Ravelry page and YouTube channel below. And I'm sorry that I can't say her last name. But yes, that's something I'm thinking about. If anyone is interested, let me know. Maybe we can do a little knit along book club together. All right. Well, that is all I have to talk about today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that everybody has a good week ahead of them, that you're enjoying this time of year. This weekend has been very rainy and dreary, but I've been taking advantage by lighting candles and working on my knitting projects. All right, I will see you all next time. Bye.